Okay, I consider myself a pretty optimistic person. My husband, on the other hand, considers himself a pessimist, and so we balance each other out. When it comes to this stage in our lives, we've been married 7 years, we've known each other for 11 and a half years, we have a baby now, and so as we're going through our life and we're seeing how the economy going through disaster after disaster, it does kind of make you feel a little depressed about the economy. We're not the only ones. The U.S. Consumer Sentiment Index is the lowest that it's been since the 50s. We're going to talk about that in this video. Hey, what's up guys? It's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. Now, we're all striving to better ourselves financially, and part of bettering ourselves financially is some of the curveballs that are thrown to us throughout our life. And the economy is going to play a big role in how well we can save, how well we can spend, and how well we can invest. And as I was going through my research, I really wanted to share with you a very interesting chart that Kyle, my husband, found from the University of Michigan. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. The University of Michigan did a consumer sentiment index. They've been kind of tracking this for a long time, and you can see we just have taken a nosedive here in the past, 3 years. So this is the lowest that it has been since, according to the article, 1952. But you can see this chart has been tracking since. I think it stops here just right before the 80s. So what the heck is the Consumer Sentiment Index? I also had that question. Investopedia came to my rescue, and they defined it as a statistical measurement of the overall health of the economy as determined by consumer opinion. So these are just you and me just thinking about the economy in general. What's our opinion on that? It takes into account people's feelings toward their current financial health, the health of the economy in the short term, and the prospects for longer-term economic growth, and is widely considered to be a useful economic indicator. So when I'm thinking about consumer opinion, that's really just subjective, right? I could say I'm an optimist and I feel that the economy is going to get better, that we are going to dig ourselves out of this hole, that we will be able to come out of this pandemic stronger, whereas somebody like my husband, who is kind of looking always for that what's the worst case scenario and let me plan for that, he's going to look at it as we've not hit rock bottom yet and we are quickly going there, and there's just no way that we are going to be able to ever catch up to what older and previous generations had when they were our age. I think along with just feeling like things are going so badly, there are other factors that are obviously shaping this opinion, right? We got to take a look at what the housing market is doing and how that's affecting our generation specifically. We are now the largest generation that is going after home buying opportunities. We are ready to go, we're married, or we're getting married, we're getting ready to have kids or have little ones already, and so the home buying process is really front and center for a lot of millennials right now. So I think it's important that we take a look at what the housing market is doing and how that relates to what the job market is doing and how that affects our household income. Let's take a look. All right, the median sales price of houses sold for the US in Q1 of 2022, that median sales price was $428,700. You can see how much that has just skyrocketed since 2020. In 2 years' time, it has just gone almost vertical. Now, when I compare that to the real median household income in the US, this just makes me want to cry. In 2020, which is the most up-to-date information we have from here, is the median household income is $67,521. It really does make me emotional because I'm like, how are people supposed to afford homes on this type of salary, and that we can't somehow seem to increase our salaries enough to purchase just regular starter homes. I live in San Diego. A starter, what I consider a starter family home, a 3-2 home, 3-bed, 2-bath, is now closing in on $1 million for a sales price. We are nowhere near to the type of income that is required to purchase a home like that. And so it really does get frustrating. It makes me angry. It makes me fearful about what that means for us as a family and what that means for what we can afford for our children. And I know that we are in a high cost of living area, but I know that millennials across the country, even in places that aren't as expensive as San Diego, are also feeling the squeeze. Now, along with a hot housing market and very dismal salaries, I actually stumbled across a really interesting Instagram video from President Biden. I wanted to share it with you right here.
You want to know why prices are so high? Well, there are a number of reasons having to do with Putin's war in Ukraine, disruption caused by the pandemic. But one of the factors affecting prices is this: 9 major shipping companies consolidated into 3 alliances control the vast majority of ocean shipping in the world. And each of these 9 is foreign owned. During the pandemic, these carriers increased their prices by as much as 1,000%. 1,000%. While families and businesses struggled around the world, these carriers made $190 billion in profit in 2021. 7 times higher than the year before. 7 times higher than the year before. And they raked in the profits. And the cost got passed on, as you might guess, directly to the consumers, sticking it to American families and businesses because they could.
$190 billion in profit. That is what those businesses kept. And I can quickly see that the middle class for America is diminishing, and it's just completely being wiped out. You are either going to see very, very low income families, or you're going to see very, very high income families. And I feel like the middle class that we were used to seeing in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s is just disappearing, because either we find ourselves in higher paying jobs and try to move up. And let me be clear, I know millennials in particular, most of them that I know are college educated, they're hard workers, and they are wanting what previous generations had before. They are wanting the homes, they are wanting to start families or travel, or ditch even the traditional way of thinking anymore and do something completely different, but it requires money to do so. And I found this video and this address really disturbing to know that there are greedy corporations out there that are taking advantage of people like me, people like you, who are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And so with all this happening, I can really see, and what I've been following in the news is that we are getting closer and closer to a recession. I really wanted to share this video by my friend Jeremy with the Personal Finance Club. If you aren't following him on Instagram, please go over there and do so. I thought he had a really good explanation video of what a recession is and how they happen.
Is a recession? Well, it's when the economy is shrinking for an extended period of time. We measure that by GDP, or gross domestic product. GDP is the number you get when you add up everything that is sold in the entire country in a given year. Every good, every service, every transaction, add it all up. When that number gets smaller for 2 consecutive quarters, this organization declares us in a recession. Technically, they say they don't base it exactly on 2 quarters these days, but that seems to be a pretty good rule of thumb. So are we headed for a recession? Here's the quarterly GDP growth for the last 10 years. And you can see in 2020, we did have 2 consecutive negative quarters, and that was our last recession. And we just had another one in Q1 of 2022. We're currently in Q2, and the next quarterly results won't be released until mid-July, so we don't know for sure. But this organization that predicts real-time GDP is currently projecting a 0 for this quarter, so it's probably going to be pretty close.
Okay, so with that really good explanation of what a recession is, we'll just have to wait and find out next month whether or not we are going to be reporting another loss or slow growth in spending on that GDP number. And so with all that to be said, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that I'm an optimistic person, but my outlook, if I was to officially submit my opinion towards the Consumer Sentiment Index, is that the economy and my outlook of it is subpar. And I don't mean to like thrive on the negativity or anything like that. I think I'm trying to be realistic and see exactly where we're headed. Now, in terms of what I'm doing personally is I am working my butt off to ensure that I am continuing to grow my income with my business. And that's the scary part about all of this for me, is being self-employed and not really knowing where the next paycheck is coming from. Now, I've been operating my business for 5 years now, and so I know history has shown me the previous 5 years have been really, really positive for me. So I feel like I can continue with that trajectory and know that I'm a smart, educated person that will find replacement jobs if I need to. But when I'm thinking about everybody else and just like not little things, I mean, they're big, like the formula shortage and all of these supply chain issues and the home prices and the lack of salary that these companies are not giving, but also then having record profit years. It just doesn't make sense. And then Netflix wants to increase their subscriptions, and so does everybody else. And it's a lot to deal with, and it's hard not to feel joyful or positive about what's to come. However, you got to go back and watch my Saving is Pointless now, because this is where I think a lot of people in our generation fall into, and Gen Z as well, is that we are feeling so bad about the outlook that we're like, well, what's the point in saving money? So let's go ahead and spend it. And you know what, guys? Like sometimes I feel like, okay, so long as my basic living needs are covered and we have our retirement goals kind of set for the year, I'm kind of like, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to spend on what makes me happy. I want to spend on the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert ticket, and I want to spend on going to a weekend trip up to LA or whatever it may be, and just enjoy where I'm at right now and try not to just like marinate in what could be or what could not be. I'd love to know in the comments, what are your thoughts on the economy so far, and where are you at in life? Do you have kids? Are you married? Or are you like 86, all of that? I just want to travel, but that's also being halted in various ways due to the pandemic or the recession. Let me know below. If you like this one and you want more videos like this, please give this one a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you in the next one.